Okay, guys, so can you see, you should be able to see like the racing water in my hand poised.
Yes.
Yes.
Poised. Okay. Oops, why won't it? Oh no. Typical. So typical. It's like the little zoom thing is right on top of the controls, so I can't touch the controls without moving it. So, okay, just a second. All right, there we go. I went to the Hokusai, I think is how you say his name. He's the guy that did the big wave painting. I went to the show at the MFA yesterday. It was really good. It's crazy crowded, so if you could go on the weekend, that would be much better. But one thing I really noticed was how much there were like the Z shapes running through the Japanese compositions. It was not just his work, it was people that he had influenced as well. So
Stay here.
yeah, so
Stay here, sweetie.
so those are just my first like sort of big composition lines. And I just can't decide, like, if did I miss it by so much, or do things just look different when you're looking at them? Because remember, I didn't paint this from this photograph. I painted it from the actual scene.
On site.
Yeah, so I just don't know, like I already can, the proportions don't look quite right. And I don't know if you just see different than camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you do, right, Judy?
I'm sorry, I was talking to Zula.
Oh, you're talking to the dog, not me here. I thought you were agreeing with me. No, she's talking to the dog. Well, I'm not sure. Anyway, I've been kind of worrying about it just in my work in general. And I got a real lot of work done this winter, but it was all done from photographs. And I just worry about how it maybe has screwed up my drawing. So.
Why do you say it screwed up your drawing?
Well, just see the proportions, like if I look at the photograph, the proportions already aren't right. Like things seem like they're smaller in the distance in the photograph than they are when I'm looking at them. So I don't know, am I making that kind of mistake where I'm just making things bigger? Or do things really look bigger when it's not a photograph you're looking at? That's all. It's just that you see like this distance is not, these distances aren't quite right. And I know it doesn't really matter. I guess I'm just blithering on because I'd hate for you to think I just like can't draw.
I would think plenty of, you would be looking at it from a different perspective versus the one shot with the camera. You could have stepped away from your easel.
Yeah, I know. I could have. You're right. There's a lot of things. I tried to do it. Also, I was recording, so I did have to step away from my easel and get my phone and take the picture. So yeah, it probably wasn't quite exactly right. So anyway, I really notice it when I'm not painting, when it's not I didn't paint from this photograph, actually. It's just really basically a reference photograph for you guys, so you can see.
And you picked a really tough scene there to do.
Oh yeah, but I have painted here quite a bit.
Oh, okay.
So not in the spring, and last fall I painted there quite a bit. And it is a really hard scene. And
Yep.
I did I'm
See there.
done about, it's a great place for me to paint when it's windy because it's down in the woods and it's not windy. So it can be really windy on the coast, but this is a kind of a sheltered place. So it's a good
And do
place.
you hear the water?
Oh my gosh, that's why I'm not didn't record. It was so loud.
Wow, that's so great.
There's
wonderful.
and there's a fish over to the left. Like right in here, there's a fish ladder. So it's a really beautiful spot, and it's a park, so it's not, there aren't cars racing by me or anything. I park and I stand right in front of well, I'm actually beyond the parking lot, so I don't have to worry about cars at all.
Do a lot of people walk by and see you painting? I wonder what you're doing.
One time it was pretty No, not very many, especially now people think it's still too cold.
Yeah.
But I did, there are community gardens there, so I did have a great conversation with the Rhode Island master gardener people.
Nice.
And I guess well, I mean, and then another day, this was really fun. There was a poetry class there. There's a high school within walking distance. So the poetry class had come and they were writing poems about, you know, the nature and all. And it was so funny. They didn't want me in the picture, but they wanted pictures of them with my easel and my paintings. So that was quite funny. So, okay. So anyway, I started my color and I'm starting the water dark. I'm ignoring all the white parts of the water. I'm just getting that all in there. And I guess I just probably decided to start it all just that same way because, you know, just it's pretty confusing. And so I'm hoping that the simpler I can make it, the better. And my drawing, I definitely could have spent more time drawing, but in a way, it kind of helps me go ahead and start the color. And even if the drawing's not just completely perfect yet, seeing the big blobs of color should help me to correct any drawing problems I might have. And I don't think I get in front of it too much on this first 30 minutes. I did all this in one day. So maybe an hour and a half. I think it's a three-week thing. But yeah, I just find the longer I work on stuff, the more I end up in front of the camera. Because I am trying to do it off from the side, but I don't know. I just
Makes sense.
yeah, zooming in more and more, zooming, like kind of closing in on it more and more. Barb, was that you?
Yes, that's me. I didn't think I
Yay.
was gonna make it here, but I am.
Yay, I'm so glad
Glad to be here. Yeah, me
I'm so
too.
glad you're here. You can also see like how much I'm shaking the easel. That's not the camera shaking, that's the easel shaking. So I'm using a ton of pressure here in the beginning. And I am thinking about my strokes a little bit. Like I do think in landscape, almost every stroke is a drawing stroke. And mostly the kind of drawing I'm thinking about is the direction of the direction that things are moving in. So like keeping the water flat or making it vertical where it's going over the waterfalls or making the rocks vertical.
All the years I've seen you do these, it still astounds me how you start them.
Yeah, well, it's great to start so badly, you know, because then there's nowhere to go but up. I kind of am amazed I have enough confidence to think I'll make it through this phase every time, you know.
It just looks so difficult.
Well, I also, you know what, it's like I don't really care how it turns out. You know, right at this stage, I don't care at all. Later, I get a little more invested. But right at this stage, I'm just so like jazzed by the colors and the shapes and, you know, I'm not really thinking about making a picture particularly. I'm just making shapes and colors and
The colors you see are so incongruous with the colors that I see.
oh, I was wondered if you were thinking that they were, well, they're, you know, they're just a part of what I see. I can't match it. I wouldn't even try to match it if I could. I'm seeing it in pieces, I think. Oh, today I really noticed, man, when I took and also it's a photograph, you know, And so I didn't paint. I think it's really important to keep that in mind. I did not paint from this photograph. I painted from the real world. And
Right.
I really noticed it today because I had to take a picture of the still life that I was working on for the next demo. And it just looks nothing like my photograph, my painting. I mean, it's like lilacs. They don't even look purple. They just look gray in the photograph. So,
Well, that's kind of good that it doesn't look like the photo.
well, it is. And I'm only concerned because like when you see them next to each other, I don't know, it just doesn't. Like, I don't know, the colors might be wicked incongruous now because I didn't paint from this photograph. And I also took the photograph at noon. I think I started at 10 or maybe 9:30. And I took the photograph at the end of the time. I didn't think to take it right when I started, so.
The light is different.
So you didn't paint from the photograph, but it's the same scene?
Yeah, because I recorded this live outside. Does that make sense, Barb?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And
So in painting like this, you always often you start with the sky. So how do you decide what to start with here?
Well, I started with the water. I don't know how I decided that, but yeah, like when there's no sky.
Yeah.
And I can't really put in the whites yet. And I think I'm sure I'm feeling the pain of not being able to put in the brightest lights to kind of set the tone of it all. Like it's a little bit of a struggle. So at this moment, I'm just trying to get enough pastel on that I can spray it. And then I can't remember when I actually put the lights in, but I'm trying to wait a little while. So like the rocks and stuff, I might be getting them too light. I can't tell because the water's going to be lighter and the rocks are darker than the water. And
It just cracks me up that you make the rocks pink at some point.
well, they didn't last. They didn't stay pink very long. It was
No, but even that it's part of the pink,
red,
it's part
right?
of your rock process. Cracks me up.
pink rocks.
Rock process, I like that.
Yeah, rock process. And I got my water process here. Processes. I like I said, I was saying, or I don't know if I finished this thought, but I really did a lot of painting this winter. So that was a lot of painting from photographs. And I am really sick of painting from photographs. And when I moved, I got rid of all my still life stuff because I said, I am never painting those stupid still lifes again. And so I had to set up things like I had to go get one of Jesse's table napkins. I had to grab some foam core and stick it in the background to set up a still life, But I think next winter I'll be in this studio where I can set up still lifes. I think next winter I'm not going to paint as many things as I did this winter from photographs.
When do you move into your new place?
Well, not till September 1st.
Oh,
We decided, well, we didn't really want to buy anything till like November or something after we came back from Italy. And the renter guy wants to stay, so he's happy to stay. And then
Good.
we'll move in after we get back from Italy.
That's great.
I know, it's pretty good. So we get some rent. I think this house, oh my God, I think it's like $400 a square foot. Like the math is so overwhelming. I hadn't really thought about the square foot price until today when I had to cash in all my assets. Okay, but anyway, I'm painting now, so.
Thank you for letting us know that.
Yeah. And I like a lot of times I want to spray really quickly because I just so screwed up, and spraying just kind of gives me a little break and it allows me to start again. And I haven't bought any other paper yet because I have so much of this to use up, but I'm going to get some of the toothier art before I go to Italy, but yeah, so I don't want to spray too soon because you only have a certain number of sprays, and that number is about 3 before you just, I don't know, it wrecks it. So maybe 4, if I was spraying a final time, which I don't do anymore. So 3 plus a final spray. So Grace, I didn't get your goat.
You didn't get my goat, that's good.
No, I didn't.
Well, I worked on it this morning and I was going to work on it this afternoon, but I took a long nap instead.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, today's Liz's first real day of retirement, so she decided she needed a nap this afternoon.
Wow, that's exciting.
It's a
news.
good
It is
rainy day
exciting.
for a nap too.
Exactly.
Well, for those of you who haven't had a chance to go back to an art museum since the pandemic, it was just fabulous to be at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. And Leslie and Jay came and met us, so that was even more
Oh,
fun.
nice.
Yep. And we just, everybody that was in the museum was at the Hokusai show, I believe. And so other areas were not quite as crowded. So
You can see the impressiveness.
great to see real paintings again. And I took a lot of pictures of rocks. So if we don't have, I don't know, in the last minute, I got a lot of artwork for tonight. So if we don't have time to look at them in class, I'll just send them to you. And that's the thing I love about going to the museum over and over again. It's like if you're thinking one time you're there, you're thinking about rocks. And then you find all these great paintings that answer some of your questions about rocks. And another time you're thinking about something else. And so every time you go, because you're in a different place in your art thing, it's like you're going to a different museum almost every time. And it has been, I guess, 4 years since I've been to the MFA. And they move stuff around.
You're kidding.
I could not believe it. But yes. The sergeants are in the same place, so that's good.
Many years ago, my husband decided to play a joke on me, and he told me that the MFA was in dire straits financially, and they were selling all of their impressionist paintings. I burst into tears, and I've never forgiven him for that.
That was what led to current circumstances. That's a terrible joke.
Yeah, what was up with that?
Sadly, things like that happen, like the National
Oh,
Cowboy Hall of Fame in Oklahoma
I
City
know.
sold off most of its Nikolai Feshins, which were some of the great paintings they had.
Gilcrease sold off a bunch of their Russells and Remingtons and
And what did they buy? What weird thing did they buy?
Mayan art, which has nothing to do with Oklahoma.
Oh, and there was this fabulous show at the MFA of those South Carolina potters that were enslaved people.
Mm.
Yeah,
You
God,
like Dave the Potter?
Dave. There was tons of Dave stuff there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and plus Dave was a literate guy and he was a poet, so he wrote
Right.
really interesting things on his pottery.
Oh, that's so cool. You got to see that.
When I first got there, I was waiting for the Wisners and I was looking, I didn't want to look at anything I might have to look at again for a really long time. So I was in this store and I was like, why do they have all these pottery books? I bet there's a pottery exhibition. And sure enough. And I think they had 60 of those mugs, those ugly face mugs. That's what they're called. They're reminiscent of the things people were doing like on the Ivory Coast in Africa. And I had my students make them. So, because they always have one. They have one in the permanent collection at the MFA. I'm pretty sure I've sprayed it now. Didn't it seem like there was a couple of times, at least one time where there was a break, just a small break?
I missed that.
Yeah, it happens really fast because I edit out the big gap. Whoa, okay, now I
Oh,
sprayed it. Okay, so I
yeah.
sprayed it and I redrew. So you can see how dark it got, but also I redrew before I turned the video back on because it's just, taking so long. And this must be close to white. I think it's a gray, but
Looks light blue on the video.
yeah, okay. I think you're right, light blue.
It looks white to me. It only looks light blue to me because it's on top of that dark blue.
Well, I'm pretty sure I didn't want to go clear to white yet.
I think it's light blue.
All right. The fans have voted.
No, how many times have I seen you do this? But the process is fascinating.
Well, good. I'm glad you're not bored.
I'm not bored. I'm never bored watching you.
Me either.
Good.
And how many years have I been watching you? I don't think I'll ever get tired of it.
I wish so bad I could see my teacher do a demo, or that I had a film of him doing a demo. Like I used to take slides occasionally, but really rarely. That was such a big, deal to get it together to take slides of one of his demos and worrying about the cost of developing and
Uh,
So Jay asked me a pretty interesting question in the museum today. Is like, is there anybody living that there might be living artists I'd be willing to take a class from, but they're probably not represented in the museums, but it's kind of tough.
but wait, what's the question?
Well, the question is there anyone living that you'd want to take a class from? It's like, okay, yeah, I'd study with Monet. And maybe Charles Benson. His figures are really, really good. And Sargent, if Sargent was teaching.
You have to stay here. Stay here. Stay on the bed, that's good. Stay
I don't
here.
think so many of those guys actually never taught.
Oh, it's a different skill.
Oh, yeah, it's true. And if you're like really a genius, I think it's hard to be a really good teacher if you're a real genius. It's like what Wolf Kahn said was the problem with teachers is they can't teach you the thing that that's innate. But to that, I sort of reply, I don't think I really had anything that was innate. I think I had to really work hard for everything I got, so.
And why does it look so effortless?
Well, that's because you can't hear the soundtrack.
I think also partly it's years of experience.
That what?
Your years of experience doing it make it look.
Yeah, but I really, there's this problem with the years of experience thing that it's a big problem, having years of experience. And that's why painting outdoors is so important. I look at this is pathetic. Anyway, it's so important because
Nice hair on your jacket.
I know, good night. Okay, it's so important to paint outdoors because it's harder to learn the formula.
What do you mean by the formula?
Like when you paint just indoors under electric light, it's easier because that light is always the same. It's easier to learn a formula for what works. But when you paint outdoors and the light is always different, then it makes it harder to learn a formula. So like the other day on Saturday, I'm teaching outdoors and it was so gray, but those guys stuck with it and they did such a good job. But it was really hard for me too, because I would prefer not to paint on a gray day. But if you're gonna get the most out of painting landscape, then you need to paint at different times of day and different, and that's also hard for me. I usually have like the time of day I can paint, and that's the time of day I can paint. But to paint at different times and in different lights, it makes it harder to learn. It means that you have to look more.
So I would like to make a comment about your reflection about there's nothing innate. And I think what's innate is the desire to paint.
Yes, that is, you're right. You're exactly right. That's really true. Good one. And, that's what my teacher used to say too, that's what he thought talent was just wanting to do it. He didn't really believe in talent, which is, when I think back and I remember him saying that Jeneane, she doesn't have much talent, but she works hard. And try to see that, as a compliment.
Yeah.
He didn't feel like he was talented either. So.
Did you think he was talented?
Yes, of course, I thought he was a genius. But I also believed everything he said. So if he said he wasn't, then I believed it. I had a massive crush on him.
How old were you?
15 and a half until I was, let's see, I studied with him close to 15 years in Oklahoma. And then he started teaching at the Arts Students League in New York City. So.
Wow.
And I studied with his wife for a long time too. That she was the one that did pastels. I studied pastels with her. Okay, I think that's the white now.
And he did what, oils?
Yeah, they kind of divided it up, which is wise. So she did portraits and figures. He did still life and landscape. Oh, and he did actually do a ton of commission portraits as well, but all in oils. And they had 6 kids, so she was pretty busy. So
The thing about pastels, I just love pastels. And I just always will remember walking into interpret in your class to substitute for Lynette, and walking in there and going, wow, and thinking, this is the medium I want to do. This is just gorgeous. I'd never really seen pastels before that.
people didn't do them so much in Vermont before I moved there, honestly. It was, and that was the thing. I would have a show, like my work was always on display when I first moved here. I just like took it from one restaurant to the next. And a lot of times I would sell the pastels. And so that, has always been my motto is, sell a pastel, paint a pastel, sell a tractor, paint a tractor. So I just started doing more pastels. And then I realized that as far as teaching went, that it was much easier for people to make progress in pastels than oils. Like when I started oils, it would take like 5 3-hour classes to finish an oil painting, because my teacher was really a stickler about composition. So your 3 objects in your still life, your wine bottle, your white coffee cup, and your onion, because that was the only thing that was going to last for 5 weeks. They had to be like perfectly arranged before he'd let you start your drawing. And so that whole first 3 hours would be setting up and getting it, the underpainting, the imprimatura, the drawing in, and then 4 weeks to paint it. And when you're a grown-up, that's too long to spend on one painting. When you're 15, that's not so bad, but.
I love what you did on the background there when you were doing the trees and
Oh,
things.
thanks.
It was just great to watch those develop.
Well, I think we've talked about that a little bit, that even when areas are really small, they need to have light and shadow. And this purple, this is one of those Dale Richardson purples from the Violet set. Jack Richardson, from their violet set.
Mm.
So, it's just really dark.
It's beautiful.
Oh my God, they've gone crazy upstairs again.
We can't hear them.
Yeah, you can hear them?
No,
Oh, you can't? Oh my God, I'm so glad. They're happy at least. They're laughing their heads off and running wildly through the upstairs.
You like the Jack Richardson set better than the Terry set of violets?
I don't have the Terry set. I just picked them, by looking at them online, and I like the colors better. So yeah, I
Oh.
guess so, but I've never tried the Terry ones.
I think it's so hard to tell from the colors online.
Well, I know it is. Back in the day, it used to be great in New York City to go to the art supply store and they had all that stuff in person.
Right.
And
Oh,
this is
found
that
one.
one Jane that I talked about, that 508.1, that's the really dark blue. It's the darkest Rembrandt there is.
Now, one of the things I'm noticing about the Rembrandts, some of them are soft and some of them are really hard.
That's because the darker colors tend to be hard.
And it's not so much fun to work with them.
No, but it's true in everything.
Uh-huh.
Darker, the harder ones are harder to work on.
Yeah, they are harder to work with, and they're usually the dark ones. And that's why I think it's so important to start with dark and then work lighter. I don't know what it is, if they have to have more binder in them to hold them together, or what. And you can see how hard I'm still having to press down when I'm using that dark.
Do you think a coarser paper makes a difference?
Well, yeah, that would help.
Okay.
I don't like texture. I like tooth, but not texture.
Mm.
So texture is like the rough side of the canson paper, and tooth is like these like Pastel Premier and UArt.
Mhm.
But still, I'm out of the way more than I was when I was standing right in front of you, I think, when I was in real life. But also, I learned a really important lesson on Saturday. I've been wearing the glasses I have on right now. They get darker when you're outside, just because I'm just kind of trying to protect my eyes from the sun, but I can't teach in these glasses at all. I have to, I don't know how I didn't realize it until yesterday or Saturday, but I have to wear just plain straight glasses because I can't see what other people are. It doesn't look the same to me as it does to everybody I'm trying to help. So,
Can you paint your own paintings with them?
yeah, because I don't know, it doesn't, I mean, I started doing it in Italy because, it's just so bright there that even if I paint in a nice little, try to find a shady spot. Okay, so I sprayed it again right then, because I
Right.
think that's the end maybe of this.
It got really dark.
How long is this going to go on? Wait, let's see if I can, know how to find out how long it goes on. Oops. Okay, I guess that's still the edge, but now the edge over here is moved. Looks like I did something, doesn't it? Seems like the proportion's different now. All right, so this particular video, that was the thing. They're two 45-minute ones. So what I'd like to do is just let it go ahead and go to the end, because then if that's okay with you guys.
Mhm.
another 15 minutes about.
Jeneane, I have a question about that background where you just put the lavender and the orange, and
Yeah,
to me, it seems like that's a very, very real focal point. Is that what you want to have happen?
no, I'm sure I'd do something else to it. No, it's too bright
Okay.
right now.
Just checking.
No, it's a good comment. I obviously am going back and forth at those same colors. It's like the same colors that were in the other painting. Those spring colors are driving me crazy.
And the water, will you keep it the intense blues that you got there, or are you gonna tend to tone that down?
Well, I hope I tone it down, but honestly, oh, I just smiled at myself. Honestly, I can't remember what I do. Oh, so I had to
Okay.
try to get on the other side.
I just wondered whether you wanted it to be really blue or not.
No, probably not. It's part of it is that getting it dark enough and rich enough.
Yep.
It's that thing of working from the bottom up.
The bottom up meaning the first layer to the fourth layer, or I
Yeah.
mean,
Mhm. Yeah, that's right. And then the same thing, these little, it doesn't really look very springy green back there in the photograph, but trying to get those spring greens in and not have them just be lizardy is kind of hard. Yeah, that does look really funny, that little pinky purple hump back there. I really hope I do something about that.
Pinky purple. I don't see a pinky purple.
Oh, it's right here. Right here, this bank that's behind the waterfall, Judy,
Oh.
right behind my hand now.
Oh,
It actually looks like a separate painting.
Does. Which
And
is
I love that.
often-
I love that painting up there.
it does look like a separate painting.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll fix it.
No.
Every time I
That's
sit here, like about now, I want to go pull out the real one and take a look at it and say, did I make it better?
Jeneane, when you go out on site, you just take that box with you, or do you take additional colors? Or the
I
box,
just
the
have
box,
my-
the box you always have.
I have the box I always have. I did
Yeah.
try to look through it and replace stuff I was out of before I went out because. And I have that great thing that Linda showed me that she has that art comber or something. It's like a thing you drag along behind you with your groceries in it, but it also has a built-in seat.
No,
I
yeah,
never really sit on it, but I put my pastels on it. And I use a bungee cord to attach my easel to that little
right.
thing so that hopefully it doesn't blow away.
I have it, but I don't know if I've ever used it.
Well, it's a pretty great thing because you get kind of, it's very annoying to have your pastels on the ground
Yes,
when you're standing
It
up.
is. Yep.
And then I got a couple of the things that Barb also has. She got some little tray table things at Walmart, I think. That's where I got mine. But I just used it in the studio, but they're like double the size about of a TV tray.
Yeah.
I have known people that took out so much stuff, they had to take with them a, like a card table.
Oh,
I am not dragging that much stuff around.
No, that sounds like a bit much.
Well, especially if you're walking, which is like, that's when I really started paring things down, was being in Italy and walking around with all this stuff. And I use this a really lightweight easel. Either I use the black metal one, or right now I'm using a wooden one that I got a really long time ago. Yeah, so also just a part of it is not just like, oh, I'm gonna make the rocks pink because I'm so clever. It's like, it's just trial and error. That's why it's taken, like there's like 10 colors now in those dang rocks. And I'm probably still not right.
But if it looks good, what's the difference if it doesn't look like the scene? Doesn't
No,
matter.
right, yeah, I agree. I agree. It's if it looks good. And you just like in oil painting, you can mix up a black that's not black. It's made up of lots of colors. And so in a way that when I'm trying to get a really dark, I just keep going back and forth layering those colors to try to get that as dark as I want it without having to use black. Like, I think I was talking, or Leslie and I were talking about at the museum yesterday, that Sargent, he's so well known, like for how incredible he painted whites, but he just painted incredible blacks. And I've never known an oil painter that used black out of the tube to make dark black. The people I've known that used the black out of the tube mixed it maybe with yellow to make green, or with other colors to make lights, gray lights, but not to make black.
I just love watching you work.
That color was a good choice right there. Something about that. Can't even see it in the photograph, but that color, that kind of made it look more transparent there to me. And I think
You can't see any of these colors in the photograph.
oh, thank God I made that thing.
You go
small.
back.
Thank you. That's a charcoal again.
Are you gonna put in those trees that look to be odd shaped birches or something?
I don't know. In the distance behind the waterfall, you mean, or
Yeah,
the ones that are hanging down? And I never even saw those red dots until I looked at this photograph today. The red, whatever those red berries are. So no, I don't think I put those in because I don't even think I saw them. I mean, I think I just was oblivious to them.
Hard to see where they're coming from anyway.
Yeah, I guess they just weren't important to me. But somebody could have put them in and made them look really good. It just probably wouldn't have been me. And those trees, they come, they go, they look bad, they look good, they look worse. I don't know, I just keep hoping I can make it better. That's charcoal too. So also just, I think this is a pretty good example of that thing, like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. But what hard really means, just gonna take longer. Everything is the same. You're just painting. It's just some things take longer.
Confused by something in the photo. Is that waterfall? Does that go from one side to the other?
Yeah, it
Or
goes all
it's-
the way across, like from here to
Because-
here.
Yeah, I thought that on the left, I thought that was reeds.
It's water.
It's so interesting. It took me a long time to figure that out.
You know why? It's because it's curved, which also I
Right.
don't quite know how to
Oh,
show
yeah.
that. It's a curved waterfall.
But the background on the left is snow and on the right it's rock, I guess.
Exactly, that's it.
Mhm.
I tried to, I think right there you can see I'm trying to turn my chalk as I go across so that it
Yeah.
has a perspective, but and my rock's not big enough in the middle, so that also might have helped things. And I still have, I think I still have my charcoal line across the top of the waterfall. I don't think I've quite gotten rid of that yet. Like this little dark line here is the charcoal, I think.
Your perspective is a little different between the actual painting and the photograph. One, you're looking right at it. The other one, you're kind of looking down on it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I tried to take the photograph at eye level, so I don't know what's.
Yeah. Photo is at eye level. Nice photo. Nice painting.
Cool. There's things, in the photograph, like, because it freezes it, you're never gonna see it looking like that. The water, the motion of the water, that's,
Yeah, well, it's always moving.
yeah. There's a funny thought, make a little loop and just paint from the looping little video and just paint from the video instead.
I think that the little thing you're working on now, when I look
Yeah.
at the photo of it, it looks so bizarre there.
I know, I
I-
probably
I
should
don't think I would put it in just because I wouldn't think I could make it look like anything.
Is it a dam? Is it?
Yeah,
is
it's part of the fish dam, the fish
it-
lab.
Okay,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
What I liked about it was the color of it, that it was in real life, it seemed like it was a very different color than anything else in the picture. And I felt like I don't know, it just led my eye back into this like that way. Instead of just going all the way across with the waterfall. I like that angle there.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
nice. Really nice.
But I agree. I mean, it's silly little things like that can cause you a lot of trouble. I love the way it's focused on my ear there. Oh, I had hope I was done, but I'm still not done. And you can see I've spent I mean, it's not a ton of time really in the long history of art, but I've mostly worked in the back half of the painting. I haven't even hardly come down and worked on the front.
Right.
So for better or worse, that's kind of how that has gone so far. And I think I mentioned this before. Well, one thing I sort of figured out just